Welcome to video 7 in the series of Excel highlights. What I'd like to do now is have a look at some of the formatting aspects of Excel. I'd like to start by inserting a new sheet, and that's this button here, this circle with a plus. If I click it, it inserts a new sheet to the right of the sheet I was sitting in. If I want it to be in front of the sheet I was sitting in, I'll simply drag sheet 6 and move it to the front. If I want to rename it, I'll double click it and I'll call it testing and then just press enter. Now what I want to start with looking at is alignment. So I'm just going to make row 2 a little bit taller than it currently is, and that is by dragging the line between rows 2 and 3 down, and you can see I'm adjusting the height. Now the other thing I'd like to do is make column B a little bit wider, so I drag the line between B and C to the right, and you can see I'm adjusting the width of the column. So I can adjust the height of the column of the row by dragging down, and I can adjust the width of a column by dragging to the right. And then I'm just going to type something. Okay, when you type something in a cell, it naturally, because it's text, will lean to the left and it'll sit at the bottom of its cell. So it's at this point that I want to highlight or draw your attention to these 6 buttons here. First of all, with regards to vertical alignment, I can send that text in that cell to the top, to the middle, or to the bottom. That's my vertical alignment, so I'm going to go for middle. And my horizontal alignment is currently left, but I could send it to the center or send it to the right. So I'm going to send it to the center. So now it's horizontally and vertically centered in that cell. Quite nice. Next thing I want to look at is what if I want to center but not within a cell but across cells. Then let's say I select this group of cells here. I might go for this group of 6 here. This is 6 individual cells that I want to merge into one larger cell and then center whatever's in that larger cell across those 6 cells. So that's this button here, merge and center. When I click it, those 6 cells have now turned into one large cell, and I can put a heading here. It automatically wants to center, but I can now send it to the left or send it to the right, or change it and put it back to the center. I can also adjust the height of this row by dragging the line between 4 and 5 down, and I could put it vertically in the center as well. So merge allows us to merge a group of 2 or more cells together to form a larger cell, and then we can decide what sort of alignment we want in that larger cell. Now I want to discuss what do we do when we've got long column headings. So for example, if I go here and I decide that I want to have January 2021, it's automatically formatted to a date. So I would like to then go into here and go into more number formats and custom and change it to 4 M's, so it gives me January in full, a space, delete the hyphen, and 2 more Y's. I want January 2021. So I want to keep it looking like a date and behaving like a date, but I've formatted it. So then I want to drag this to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. This just means my columns aren't wide enough, so don't worry about that. What we can do is double click between D and E, E and F, or we could select the entire sheet, clicking above row 1, and just double click between any 2 column letters, and that'll automatically fix every single column. But what I've got is January, 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 and when I look up on the formula bar, it's got the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th. Let me just drag, I'm just going to reduce that so you can see everything, and I'm just going to adjust my column widths again. That's it. Let me just drag this again to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's have a look at this little autofill options here, because I want to fill it with months. And so now, if I select the entire sheet and double click, I can see I've got January, February, March, April, May, June, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I've got reasonably long column headings here. And what I want to do is keep my column widths narrow, but be able to see all my text. So one option is to actually rotate the text. I'm going to select this lot here and I want to introduce you to orientation. If I go to orientation, I could say, look, I want to rotate the text up. And so that allows me to do this. Again, I need to adjust the height. Just double click between 7 and 8 or drag down so that I can see all of September. So I've rotated or changed my text orientation so it's upright, or I can rotate text down, but I actually prefer rotate text up. So this is one way of handling long column headings. And now I can select this group of columns, double click between any two column letters and adjust the height so that they're not very wide. So that's one way of handling long column headings, is to change the orientation. Another way is to actually wrap text. So I'm going to go over here and play. Let's say I had sales figures for 2019 to 2020, and then to the right of that I had sales figures for 2020 to 2021. Now I don't want to increase the column width, but I need to show all of that heading. So I'm going to click on this option here, and I'm going to use this option here to wrap the text. Boom. Now I can see all the text, and I'm going to do the same to this one as well. Wrap the text. So the wrap text button is another way of managing long column headings. And then I can turn around, of course, as we did, and change the alignment to center. But the downside of this is when you adjust the column width, let's just drag this again, you affect the point at which the text wraps. So it's not always going to be necessarily consistent if people change the width of the columns. So let's just do that again. I'm just going to put sales figures. Oh, sorry, I'll go sales, and now I'm going to go Alt Enter, figures, Alt Enter for Alt Enter 2019 to 2020. That's where I want things to wrap. And so these will always wrap at that point. If I was to pull that to the right and I was to adjust the column width a little bit and change that. Now this is when I'm going to increase my formula bar at the drop down, because I can increase the height of it and change that to 2020 and that to 2021. And so I can collapse that back up as well. So you can collapse and you can expand your formula bar. So when I adjust the height of column S, notice this will continually be reactive to the width that I'm making the column, whereas this is always on 4 lines because I have told it with Alt Enter where I want my carriage returns or my enters to go. So Alt Enter is another way that you can wrap text but have more control. Okay, now let's say I quite like the format of something. Let me just zhuzh this up a little bit. I'm going to change my orientation now to angle counterclockwise. And I'm going to change my column widths by double clicking. And I'm also going to apply a certain color. And let's say I now want to paint that format there onto other text. So I'm going to go to my format painter, which is underneath cut and copy, and I can click once and then click a cell. Click once and click a cell. But if I double click the format painter, I can now go you, and you are to be formatted, and you. And then I just press escape or click the button again to turn off the formatting. The format painter exists in all the Office products, and it's a fabulous way of painting the look that's applied to one cell onto other cells. Massive time saver. Okay, then we've got the topic of borders and grid lines. Now grid lines are these grey lines that you always get on all rows and all columns whenever you create a sheet. Now these grid lines, you don't have to view them. You can go to view in the ribbon and you can untick grid lines and voila, they're gone. Or bring them back just by ticking them. The other thing you can do is you can right click this button and add it to your quick access toolbar, because you might decide that that's something that you use regularly and it's a bit of a pain to have to go to view. So now I can stay home, and whenever I want to turn off or turn on the grid lines, I've got this handy wee button. So that's grid lines in terms of viewing. Now in terms of printing your grid lines, if I go Control P, which is short for file print, and I go into page setup, because I can see my grid lines aren't going to print, I go into page setup and I go to sheet and I decide actually I do want to print the grid lines, and okay, and so that will actually print the grid lines. So viewing the grid lines and printing the grid lines are two separate things. You might not want to view them, but you do want to print them, or you might want to print them, but you don't want to view them, or you want to view them and print them. You decide. Now borders always print. And so the idea is you can select a cell or a group of cells, and you've got a borders button here. I might decide that I just want a bottom border, and so it's just put a bottom border only on that cell. Or I might want a bottom and a top, so now I have a bottom and a top. Or I might actually just go for the outside, and so I've got a border around the outside of that particular cell, which just happens to be rotated counterclockwise. I might select all of these cells and decided that they're all to have outside borders. Now that's around the outside of the whole lot, so I also want inside borders. So I'm going to choose all borders, and that puts all of them with borders around them. This one here, I might just flatten that rotation, so I'm going to go into here, format cell alignment, grab that red diamond, drop it down to 0 degrees, and okay. Alright, so that's now sorted. I'm going to center it, and I need to re-merge those cells. So I'm going to merge those cells, and if I want to, I can put a thick border around the outside of that. So here we have thick outside border, and it's substantially thicker than these earlier ones. So that's the whole idea. Borders definitely print. If I went Control P, you'll see the borders in addition to the grid lines, but if I went into page setup and went to sheet and said don't print the grid lines, it would definitely print the borders. And I might even change it to landscape so I could see it all, and even scale it to fit on one page. So those are your borders. And back out again. Definitely come back for the next video.